The house you're looking at once belonged to a man whose name is riddled with scandal. Sheldon Zelitt built a life of deceit and manipulation. But what happens when the shadows of his crimes linger in the very home that was once his? This is the story of a house, a community, and the far-reaching consequences of embezzlement. Marie Winter and her husband Grant moved into this house in 2000, unaware of the crimes Zelitt was committing. She's one of the few people who knows the story behind Zelitt, his crimes, his life, and the lasting impact on everyone he touched.
So, can you tell me what you know about Sheldon Zelitt?
Yes. I can only speak to the fact that we purchased a home off of him. We purchased the home in February of 2000. So my interactions with him, although short, were memorable.
Zelitt owned a company called VisuaLabs, a business that promised cutting-edge technology, claiming to invent 3D television. But behind the glossy surface, it was all a scam, one far larger than most people realized.
It was bigger than a fraud scam that took place in Canada called Briex. It was huge across Canada. And people lost their homes, their livelihoods. VisuaLabs was bigger than that.
And then, can you tell me about your personal experience with him?
Well, I can tell you what happened when I did meet him. My mother and I came into this house. My husband was measuring the carpet downstairs with his father. And so my mom and I came to sit in the kitchen because I'd already seen the house and we wanted to purchase it. So we were sitting in the kitchen and he said to me, "I'm going to pour you a glass of whiskey." Now, I'm not a drinker, but he seemed to be on a, I can't explain it to you. Almost a mission. And so he poured me a glass of whiskey. It wasn't a lot, but it was in a filthy, dirty glass. Absolutely filthy. I didn't want it. I wasn't going to drink it. I had no intention of doing that. He didn't pour one for my mom. But when Grant was finished, he said it was time to go. And I stood up to leave. And he said, "You haven't finished your whiskey." And I said, "Yeah, thank you very much. I don't drink whiskey." He said, "You're going to drink that." And he was, in my opinion, quite threatening in the sense, maybe it was my perception, but I drank it because I felt that it was essential that I did.
That encounter, though unsettling, was just the beginning. Marie's excitement about her new home was quickly tainted. A routine shopping trip revealed the extent of Zelitt's legacy.
Well, I did go shopping over at one of the stores in Calgary. And of course, I was so proud that we had purchased this house. I was sort of walking around on cloud nine, and I went into the store and I was looking to purchase a water feeder for the horses. And when I walked in, and the fellow that was helping me, he was amazing. And then he said, "Well, where do you live?" And I told him. And his demeanor completely changed. It was like a mask suddenly came over his face. He said, "You bought the Zelitt home?" And I said, "Well, yes, we did." And he said, "I have no intention of waiting on you, and I don't want to ever see you personally in the store again." And I said, "Oh, what's happened?" And he said, "I invested in VisuaLabs and I lost everything." And he said, "You bought his home."
The clerk had invested in VisuaLabs, and like so many others, lost everything. It was a moment that forced Marie to confront a painful truth. Her new home was tied to a past she couldn't escape. After the scandal, Zelitt vanished. He and his wife relocated to Prague, leaving behind a shattered company, countless victims, and a legacy of betrayal.
Last I checked, he was in Prague, Czechoslovakia. That's where they moved. Him and his wife moved to Prague. From my understanding, and I'll be very clear on that, it's just my understanding, she was either the CEO or the vice president of the company. So, you can, as you well know, the company, CEO, vice president takes their funds, and then the president of the company takes his funds. So they ended up with a lot of money. I have in the Calgary Herald, there's a picture. He lived in a castle in Prague, Czechoslovakia, which is where he moved prior to us even moving into the house.
In the aftermath of his crimes, Zelitt became a symbol of corruption and greed. But the full extent of his actions wasn't fully understood until it was too late. Can you tell me a bit about the kids and what you know about that?
Well, he had his own children, but he also fostered out. I think there was about 13 children in this home. And when we moved into the house, as I said, we didn't know in the beginning, but the living room, even where I'm sitting right now, had gates across the entrances, the two entrances, and the children stayed in here and drew all over the walls. And my understanding from the neighbors was they never saw the kids outside. They were kept in the house. So the little girl, it was our understanding that the neighbor 2 houses down, she had a Rottweiler who stayed outside all the time on a very large chain link attached to his collar. And he was quite frightening. They didn't know where the little girl was, and my understanding was the neighbor phoned the police, because I think she was only about 4 years old, maybe 5 at the most. She was in the doghouse. She had run away from the house, and it was almost like the dog was protecting her, to be honest with you.
The foster children, often locked away, were another tragic part of Zelitt's story. The house, once a home, had become a prison. The victims of Zelitt's fraud weren't just numbers. They were real people, families who lost everything, including their trust. Ultimately, he was convicted with 11 counts under the Securities Act that he had made misrepresentations or had permitted or acquiesced in VisuaLabs, Inc., making misrepresentations in documents required to be filed or furnished under Alberta security laws.
Fraud in Canada and around the world is at levels that I have never experienced in my life or heard of. People are being taken advantage of, especially the elderly. People are phoning every day, scamming people out of money. He took a lot of money out of a lot of different people. I mean, it was, I'm sure, a multi-million-dollar fraud case. And that came out of ordinary people's pocketbooks. They thought they were investing in what he claimed to be the first 3D television ever. He put 2 TVs together, and I don't know how he offset the picture, but people bought into that. They lost their livelihoods in some case. They lost everything. And that's happening today. Only it's worse because now it's around the world, and because of social media, it's affecting far more people.
In the end, the house stands as a silent reminder of a past tainted by deception. And while Zelitt's crimes may have faded from the headlines, their impact lingers on, affecting lives and communities far beyond the walls of this home. This house, once a symbol of success and pride, is now a testament to the dangers of greed and corruption. The victims are many, but their stories, like this house, will never be forgotten.